welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, thank you for joining me. So I am currently in the middle of doing a 4 to 5 week challenge of using most everything that we have on hand in our fridge, pantry, and freezer. So normally I go grocery shopping every single week and spend about $100 a week on groceries, then one Costco trip a month on paper, supplies, and household goodies. And I only shop clearance and sale items. So that is how I'm able to stock up everything. And now that everything is full, I need to figure out going through all of this. And I'm giving myself a $25 a week budget on fresh produce, butter, milk, and eggs. And now I'm going to be showing you all of the things that I've made for last week. This is week 2 and we're moving into week 3, and I want to show you what the plan is as well for week 3, so you can also follow along if you want to do a similar challenge to this. So let's get started. So first thing I did was I made pot pie and loaded potato soup on the same night, and that was Sunday night. I made 2 pot pies. One of them I was able to freeze for later, so that will be a freezer meal, and I used the other one the next day for dinner. Somebody just came to the front door. Hey!
We got some eggs.
Oh, you got eggs!
You picked up.
Yeah! Was it the feed? Go on.
I don't know.
Wow, look at all these eggs my neighbor just gave us. Hooray! So as you can see, we got a nice little surprise from my neighbor who has a couple of chickens. He dropped off 15 fresh eggs for us. I immediately did the float test on these to make sure that the ones that were about to go bad, we cooked those immediately. And I actually just go ahead and wash them all right away. If you're going to be washing the fresh eggs, just wash them in warm water, not cold and not hot. Then dry them off completely and put them in a bowl with the pointed end facing down. This is going to allow the yolk to be more centered and keep the eggs fresher longer. So if you wash them, you have to refrigerate them. But if you're not going to wash them, you can leave them out on the counter because they still have the protective layer on the outside. But for us, we just go ahead and wash them because we use them so quickly that I don't want to go and have to wash them before using them every single time. And again, this is just for fresh eggs. Obviously, any eggs from the grocery store that are refrigerated need to go in the refrigerator. So I went ahead and cooked up, 7 eggs. Those ones were the ones that were a little bobbly, like they weren't floating, but you could tell they were maybe a week or 2 old. So I went ahead and cooked those up. And then the ones that I didn't cook, I put them in a bowl with the pointed end facing down and just put those in the fridge. So now I just put them in an ice bath after I cooked them here, and I'm going to go ahead and peel. And we're going to eat these for breakfast today. I'm super excited because I was able to actually cook extra to give for my husband for his breakfast the next day. So that was kind of like a double win there. So I like to do that. I like to prep a lot of things in advance anytime that I can. If I'm already going to be cooking something, why waste the energy and do it again the next day, especially with things like eggs. I think they last maybe 4 or 5 days in the fridge. You can just look that up too. I think FDA.gov has a lot of details about when things expire. So here in California in March, this is about the time we start seeing the warmer weather come about. And last year I kind of fell behind. So this is me planting my zucchini and my yellow summer squash and some chives and some dill in my backyard. I am trying to do a little bit extra. This is also me doing wildflowers, by the way. I'm trying to do a little bit extra this year so that way I have more to give to the neighbors. So that way when they're giving me eggs, I have more produce to give them in exchange. So now I'm just spreading some wildflowers around to try to attract the beneficial bugs, the bees and the butterflies and all of that. Okay, it's just about starting to rain right now. I am just going to throw some carrots in the ground. I've got seed over here from last year. So I'm going to grab some of these seeds here. A lot of times if I'm storing them, I'll get off the prickly parts there, but you don't have to. You could just plant these right in the ground. So that's what I'm going to go do real quick. For lunch that day, I had some leftover potato soup. This was on Monday. And then I also pulled out one of those turkey pot pies that I made the day before. I used the turkey from the whole turkey that I had cooked the week before. And I just had separated that into portions and put those in the freezer so I could use it as often as I'd like. And we're not just eating turkey all in 1 week. So these pot pies are awesome. I definitely highly recommend doing freezer meals if you can, because then you can, get things done in advance and have more time to relax later and still have a healthy and delicious meal like ready to go. I love this pot pie recipe. I'll make sure I put all these recipes or whatever I can fit up to the 5,000 character limit in the description. If I can't fit it, I do have a lot of things on my blog, like this recipe's on my blog as well. So I'll include links for that, and as well as Facebook. I do have a lot of reels and recipes on Facebook in my group and on my personal page as well. So if I have to, I'll put a link instead for that. But this is a delicious recipe. And I had cereal a lot of the days. This is that $1.99 cereal from Aldi. I love it. So delicious. And for lunch on the following day, I found this packet of tuna in my fridge. I had gotten this for free. It's ranch tuna. So definitely something different. I've never had this before. It was mixed with ranch dressing, I guess, in the pouch, and I'm sure it would be good on top of crackers and stuff like that. But anytime my local grocery store does free things, I never miss out on that. If it's free, it's for me. I just go and get it. I'm sure I can use it later. So this was good until 2024. So I just had it sitting in my fridge since, I don't know, 6 months or a year ago. And I finally was able to use that with some leftover chips, and it was delicious. And I asked some people on my social media accounts what to do with Cool Whip, and this was one of their awesome ideas. I had some graham crackers, and I made these graham cracker sort of ice cream sandwiches. Cool Whip tastes just like vanilla ice cream, in my opinion, just softer, kind of like vanilla soft serve if it was a little bit more frozen. I added some chocolate chips to a couple of them as well, and I'm sure you can do other toppings like fruit, but my kids absolutely love these, and I have a few left in the freezer for another time too. And while those were getting nice and frozen in the freezer for after dinner, I made our meatloaf. This is my favorite recipe for meatloaf. I do have this on my channel as well, on my YouTube. So if you want to see a more slowed down version of this, you can check that out. I didn't have any fresh onions, so I used onion powder for this in this case. And I always use that little meat masher and then follow up with a fork to make sure I don't overmix it. And it really turns out delicious, especially since I put it on this little pan and it takes less time. This time I made it a little thinner, so that way it would only take like 35-40 minutes to cook. Usually it takes about 50 or 60 minutes if I make it into like a large loaf. And then my secret ingredient for this is balsamic vinegar for the topping. Fair warning though, 99% of people who tried that recipe, they love it, but there is the occasional person that doesn't love it. So if there's any ingredient in my recipe that you don't like, and you might not like it. So if you don't like balsamic vinegar, you may not like my meatloaf, but it's worth a try. Then I decided to try this viral Thomas Keller zucchini because I had zucchini on hand still. And that's where you sort of slice it like this in little zigzag crissy-cross things, and then add some salt, wait about 10-15 minutes, and then pat it dry with a paper towel. I saw this on TikTok, so I had to try it, but I was super impatient. I used avocado oil. You're supposed to sear it for 5 minutes before putting this in the oven, but I was really impatient. I only did it for like 2 minutes, so I didn't get that nice like caramelization. People, I guess, apparently after taking it out of the oven will put feta cheese and things on it, but I didn't have any of that, so I just pulled it out of the oven and served it as is. It was okay. We did make some more fresh bread. That's super easy, no knead bread recipe. That's available in my last vlog if you need that, and some sweet potatoes that I just steamed, and I added some butter and cinnamon. And then for dessert we had these really yummy ice cream sandwiches. They were so good, and I still have a couple left, and I might go eat one of those after. Honestly, I have been having so much fun getting all of these recommendations from social media on what to do with, ingredients I have on hand. If you have any other uses for Cool Whip, I still have half a container left, so let me know in the comments too, because I'm always looking for more ideas on how to use ingredients. Let's go shopping at Aldi. All right, so here is everything that we're going to be getting today. Let's go see what my total is. Okay, $24.39, no bags, we brought our own. Okay, there we go. We're under $25 this week. Okay, here is our receipt today, $24.39, so we just barely made it. And these are the goodies that I bought for Easter baskets. Spent about $6 for these total, and then some toothpaste for household essentials, less than $4. Okay, so these are for Easter. We're not going to be eating these this month. It will be in April in their Easter basket. So I'm going to hide them up here with their other Easter goodies. So kids cannot get them. They cannot see them because they're short. There we go. It's pretty amazing how much more you can get by just putting one milk back, especially organic milk, because it's only almost $4. But I was able to get strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, sweet onions, a few apples, some bananas. I got my butter and some probiotics, like the drink for kids, and 2 organic milks for this week. So I'm just going to reduce the milk intake for the week. For drinking milks, we'll switch over to water and a little bit of juice. I have a picky toddler at home, so when he wants a soft pretzel for breakfast, I do that and just pair it with, so usually some fruit and maybe some bacon or something like that, or maybe just the pretzel. For lunch this day, I actually used some of the leftover meatloaf and made a melt. If you have not tried a meatloaf melt, I highly recommend it, especially if you love cheeseburgers. I mean, this is like a cheeseburger more like fancy, I guess. I know it looks awful and people complain about my presentation, but I want it to be real. Like, this is how I, am making my food and how I'm stretching it. I'm actually eating my leftovers and making them amazing, by the way. When I discovered this, it just blew my mind. I know, I'm late to the party, but that was a delicious sandwich, okay? So I am using a lot of the rest of my produce. I have a few carrots left and a bunch of carrots in the garden, but right now I'm just slicing everything up and getting it ready for a stir fry again. Stir fry is one of my go-tos, especially if I have just a bunch of random vegetables on hand. Stir fry is usually the way to go, and it's super easy to make and doesn't take very long, maybe 30 minutes start to finish. Depends on how fast you chop things, because once everything is chopped and the sauce is all stirred together, you just heat your pan with oil, an oil that can handle a little bit more heat, like vegetable oil, canola oil, or avocado oil. Coconut oil doesn't do well with high heat, so avoid that one with this dish. And olive oil can burn too, so I wouldn't recommend that. This is some more leftover turkey, by the way, that I added here, and you couldn't even tell it was turkey. My husband didn't know. He even thought it was chicken. So I'm just getting creative and using whatever we have on hand to make delicious food. So definitely recommend doing a stir fry if you have that, or even some frozen vegetables like broccoli, or sometimes they have a stir fry blend. And chestnuts are really good too in this if you have like a can of chestnuts. Oh my goodness, so delicious. And I'm also going to be using the frozen udon noodles. I think I have 1 pack left because I used 2 packs for each. So now that I only have 1 pack left, that may be a lunch option, or maybe something where I cook for my husband the following day. So we'll see. We'll see down the line how that's going to work out, and I may save it for later. We'll just see. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and saute this. Make sure you use a really big pan, because like this pan wasn't quite large enough. So I ended up steaming the vegetables more than sauteing them and getting that nice caramelization. So just be careful with that. And I don't mind either way if they're a little bit like more steamed. So that's really a personal preference. I don't like my veggies to be too soft either, so I don't cook them like 100% all the way through. I like a little bite. Then I'm just going to add those cooked udon noodles and that sauce that I made before, and just really delicious. Add some hot sauce. I mean, you're good to go after that. And if you ever see in my recipes something you don't have on hand, leave a comment and I can let you know what the substitution would be for that too. And I'm going to go ahead and actually use the front yard this time to plant some more things. I planted some corn and some other goodies too. Partially making this video so I remember what I planted. Got a zucchini over here. I'm planting 2, whichever one looks better after a couple weeks. I'll leave it and then I will pull the other. So I've got more zucchini here. Over here I've planted some corn as well as in the other corner. Down here I've put some bell pepper seeds. We'll see how those take. Cover these all up. Some bell peppers here. Oops. Okay, and then over there, I've got some cherry tomatoes here and some beef steak there. Over here, I've done some Walla Walla onions down here on this row. So those are Walla Wallas, a couple of white onions and 1 basil over here. And then a whole row of cilantro over here. Cover that all up. Okay, and then over here, this is just an onion patch. So this is gonna be my sweet yellow onions. Those are my favorite. Take a long time to get to harvest. So those will be ready in hopefully a few months. Planted quite a few seeds over here. So here we go. That's it. And then planted a bunch of sunflowers down in the front. As a celebratory meal, we went to my daughter's favorite Panera, and I got myself a Baja chicken bowl, and they had mac and cheese and a cookie, and it was delicious. It's about $25 for that meal. And then that night I decided to make some brisket nachos. I just shredded some cheddar and some pepper jack cheese, took some brisket out of the freezer that my husband so kindly chopped in advance so it was easy for me to get out of the big bag that he had in there. Then I just added some taco seasoning and water and then started to build the nachos. So I love nachos because you can add so many things, even stuff from your pantry. You know, you can add black olives, you can add chilies. I used the rest of an organic salsa that we had left, only a couple tablespoons of that, and then pulled out a new salsa and some sour cream and hot sauce. It's just so easy. I love nachos, chicken or turkey or brisket, whatever. And then we did eggs the next day, and to stretch the eggs, I add a little bit of milk. I honestly don't think that the milk adds much. I don't know if it's any more fluffy or anything like that. I think the secret is usually just in the way that you actually cook them, because if you overcook scrambled eggs, then that's what makes them not so fluffy. And so first I just heat a pan and melt some butter. Once the butter is nice and foamy, then I add the eggs. And when the eggs start to cook, I just start moving them around, kind of fold them. And if they're not fully cooked, that's when I set it aside and let them cook on their own. And that's how I get fluffy eggs. And then the lunchtime for later on, I made a charcuterie board and snacky board, and we went outside and had a little picnic. My kids absolutely love this, and I usually try to add some fruit in there. It was just a beautiful day for a picnic, just perfect weather. It's been raining all week, so this was perfect. And this is something that I like to do anytime that I just have a lot of odds and ends, a little bit of cheese, a little bit of crackers, a little bit of sweet stuff, some fruit, piece of cake. And then after that, for dessert, we had ice cream with chocolate syrup and sprinkles. And for me, I added some Oreos on top. Just, you know, you can get a lot of things done with little stuff on hand. It's just amazing when you think outside the box. And then we also had a very fancy dinner, boxed mac and cheese and French bread pizza. So we're definitely moving on to some less healthy options here, but we'll get back to the healthier options at the beginning of the week. And by the way, I made my own ranch. I had no idea that I could make my own ranch, like homemade. I mean, I thought it was difficult, but it's not difficult. So there you go. And it was delicious. And this next one, this dinner, I had seen in a reel that day and thought, you know what? I have biscuit mix. I don't have canned biscuits, which is what they used. But I was like, I have these Cheddar Bay biscuits. I need to use them. So let's give this a try. So first I buttered the muffin tin here, and then added a little bit, maybe 1/8 of a cup of the dough on the bottom. It's very sticky, so that was a little hard to work with. But then I added these chicken nuggets on top and added some Red Hot onto mine and my husband's, the Frank's Red Hot, and the kids I just left plain, and added some cheese, pepper jack to mine and my husband's, and no cheese on the kids. Then I topped it with the dough. And then I cooked that in the oven at 375 degrees for about 25 minutes until it was completely cooked through and golden brown. And this is what they look like. And then the Cheddar Bay biscuits call for this mixture of butter and seasoning. So I put that on top, and look how delicious. And we just served it with some leftover mac and cheese from Panera. And then the next morning we had these with breakfast as well. And so I highly recommend giving that one a try. It's really delicious. For lunch, I just ended up having some instant ramen. Because I have a bunch of instant ramen. I just added some frozen spinach to it before I added the boiling water. So that made it a little bit healthier. Although I don't think you could ever really call instant ramen healthy. I didn't drink all of the broth, but I did add some of the spicy seasoning to it. Oh my gosh, it was so good. So I'm going to be working on having those every, once a week or so. But this one turned out delicious. I have a few others that I want to try. My neighbor gave these to me, and so I haven't ever tried them before. And then here's the update on what things look like. Let's start with the pantry. So you can see that a lot of the snacks have been eaten, and we're starting to get low on snacks, which is okay. The kids can just eat what's there, and then I can make some things from scratch. The refrigerator is pretty sparse, but I will be picking up some fresh produce the following week. We are going on a Disney cruise this week, so I won't be shopping. We have a few cheeses left and a little bit of fresh produce that I have to eat before we leave on our cruise. And then when we get back, then I can get a little bit more fresh produce and some milk. The freezers is where we're going to be heading next for a lot of our meals, because we do have a lot of stuff left in the freezers. So stay tuned for next week's recipes and how we did on week 3. If you like this video, please be sure to give me a little thumbs up and subscribe to see more. Have a wonderful day.